Greetings. Welcome to this edition of Domotz, our latest and greatest. It's a delight to have you with us today. We're going to step through some of the cool new features, cover some of the stuff that we've been doing for a while yet, and look forward to getting your feedback. So without further ado, let's get some housekeeping underway. This will go about 60 minutes or so. We are recording, and we'll make the slides available within 24 hours to all those who are registered. We do encourage you to submit questions. We have a Q&A section towards the latter part of the presentation. And of course, if you have any additional questions that you want to send to us afterwards, we'll also supply you with our contact details. So the topic today is, are you getting the most out of Domotz? Right, so we've got some features that were specifically developed for managed service providers, IT professionals, but we've got such a wide range of users in all manner of markets. And so we welcome everyone, no matter your background. Our agenda today, we're going to talk about IoT in the real world, talk about how to get more out of Domotz. We'll cover some use cases, and we'll show you how easy it is for you to go ahead and try it yourself. I'd like to first introduce you to the voices you're going to hear. Mine is Seth Rubenstein. I'm on the far right. We also have JB Fowler, our Chief Product Officer, right there in the middle. Hey, JB.
Howdy, howdy. I look forward to having a great presentation today.
Right on. And Giancarlo Finelli, our Chief Technical Officer, who's been with Domotz since the very first lines of code were written. Say hello, Giancarlo.
Thanks, Seth, for the introduction, and thanks everybody for joining this webinar.
All right, now let's get right to it. So the Internet of Things, right? The term is used quite a bit. What does it really mean? It means that there are connected things or things that want to be connected everywhere. In fact, we, between Domotz and Fing, our sister company, have already cataloged well over 35 billion devices by MAC address, linking make, model, and type to each device. That's huge. That means that when you scan and map a network, you see not only what's connected, but what those devices are. So where is IoT? IoT is in conference rooms and unified communication. IoT is also on campuses. IoT is in restaurants through digital signage, digital menu boards, AV equipment. IoT is also in franchises. So central management of multiple locations is made complex by virtue of the number of connected devices, including the point of sale systems. So what is Domotz and how do we relate to these things? Well, we're a remote monitoring and management tool. We've got a desktop and a mobile app, and we provide this NOC, or a Network Operations Center view, with a map and a list of all of the sites that are being monitored in a multi-tenant environment, so that all of those devices that get detected on each and every network, regardless of the type of product that is, the channel that it serves, from HVAC to lighting control, network systems, AV, everything's connected, even the BYOD devices that are showing up on networks in the workplace. We see everything, and we will send alerts when there are issues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to JB and let him talk about what happens when you click on any one of these sites that are listed. So the dots on the right represent the location of a monitored site. The list towards the middle on the left are those sites. And when you click on one of those sites, you see what we call our set of tiles.
Yeah, Seth, this was a great introduction, Seth. I appreciate the fact that you're pointing out that this Internet of Things, which is everybody knows it's an overused word and term, but the reality is that many thousands, millions, and as you pointed out, billions of devices are getting connected to the network. What we have here is a tool for you as an integrator or as a service provider to help better understand what this IoT stuff is and how it's affecting your networks. And Seth, one of the things that you and I often talk about with our customers is Domotz as a tool is meant to help you run your business more efficiently. If we can help you eliminate truck rolls, if we can help you get insight into what's going on in the network or make changes to the network remotely, you can really take advantage of Domotz and really be a better person for your, or a better businessman for your clients. And that's something that we strive to do with respect to Domotz. In today's webinar, we're going to go over a lot of the features of Domotz and how we help you do that. I think for a lot of you who've been with us for a while, you'll see that there are new features that are exciting and compelling and can help you run your business more efficiently. I think you're also going to see a few little hidden gems that you may not have known about. And we want to talk about that and show some of those things here. We'll talk about our network topology map. We'll talk about alert settings, some of the key reasons that Domotz gets utilized as a remote monitoring and management tool. And then we'll go down into connectivity and security, but also talk about some of the device specifics, you know, how we leverage wireless access points and give you better visibility into the network there. And then even some network diagnostic features like round trip delay monitoring or latency checking. And there's more. We've got a couple new things that if any of you are on our mailing list, you may have just seen, but you'll see things like a desktop app that is now available for utilization, and we'll talk about that. And then I want to talk about some more of the advanced features like the application programming interfaces that we have and how you can utilize some of those. So with that, let's get started. For many of you, you recognize or you know that Domotz is a network agent that gets installed into a network. It's a single piece of software or a black box that can get installed. Once you activate that agent, it will start to automatically scan the network and understand what all these devices are. And to Seth's point, we then take advantage of Fing and its SDK and database to enrich that data. So you're not just seeing the MAC address, but you're seeing the make, the model, the type of that device. So you know what that device is that's on that network with a very high degree of certainty. We then take it a step further, and this is where a lot of the intelligence behind Domotz comes in, and we start to understand the managed switches that are on the network and the wireless access points, and we look at how each one of those MAC addresses or those devices that are connected to the network, how they are sitting on that network and how they're mapped. This network topology map gives you a lot of insight into what is on that network and what it looks like. This is automatically generated for you based on SNMP variables or SNMP services that are running on this switch. All you need to do is make sure that the community strings are entered correctly into those managed switches. Once you do that, this map just opens up for you. And by the way, I definitely invite you guys to try this. You'll see that it's searchable, and you'll see that this map is exportable to either a PNG or an SVG file, so you can use it for documentation purposes with your customers. There's a lot of power inside this map and the device searching that we do here. Seth, do you want to make any comments about how customers have utilized this or the excitement that customers see when they see this map?
Absolutely, JB. I mean, I got to give great kudos to our dev team. I mean, this one knocked it out of the park. We're getting incredible feedback. What's cool is that anybody who wants to, get a Domotz trial, they're going to essentially plug and play, and they'll get access to this, and they can test it out on their own. But we'll talk more about that towards the end. But by far, this has been one of the most exciting new features Domotz has ever had.
Yeah, I completely agree. Completely agree with that. So once awareness of the network and once an understanding of where devices are sitting on the network, one of the most obvious ways of leveraging Domotz is to take advantage of the alerts that are available to you. Within each device, you can go and set custom alerts. Types of alerts that you can do, most commonly used are email notifications. I think a lot of you are aware of the fact that Domotz does have a mobile app, which you can do push notifications to. So if you're out and about on another job site, you can at least be aware of what's going on your other customer sites. I think that's an important aspect of what Domotz does. But there's even more advanced alerts that people may not be aware of. First and foremost are the use of webhooks. Webhooks are a bit more of an advanced technology, but certain services like Slack or other PSA tools can take advantage of these webhooks, and you can have automatic push notifications into those third-party applications through webhooks. So if you're familiar with this type of technology, I definitely invite you to try it. It's amazing what you can do from a cloud-to-cloud integration perspective with webhooks. And for more advanced users, they may want to take advantage of APIs as well. This is another way in which you can not only set alerts, but receive alerts through the Domotz application. I do want to point out as well that you can do a lot more of advanced networking alerts. If you're not aware of that, you guys should look at this. You can get alerts based on speed testing of the WAN itself. You can go in and leverage SNMP and set alerts on variables. One of the common ways to use SNMP is to set bandwidth alerts based on particular ports. You can set temperature alerts. We have a lot of service providers that are monitoring the ink levels of printers as well. And that can be done all through SNMP quite easily through what we call Domotz Eyes. You can also monitor services or processes running on machines. So if you want to make sure that a PC that is sitting on the network always has RDP, or remote desktop functionality available, you can set alerts on that as well. And then last, and this is one of the things that I don't think people are aware of as much, but latency. We have the ability to first of all, measure a latency between each of the devices on the network, and we can look at the variance between the latency and then set alerts based on that. So that's some of the advanced alerting that we can do. But by all means, these alerts can get pushed into whatever type of alert you set up, can get pushed into these different tools that you use. One of the things that I didn't mention here, but people should certainly be aware of, is the fact that you can, in our premium plans, share these alerts with email addresses or commonly used aliases without affecting the security of your account. So that's something that I definitely invite people to take advantage of and look at. This, to me, is a hidden gem that I don't think people are aware of, but once we show them and talk about this, they're amazed at what they can do with this. The fact that we can digest the alerts that occur under your account is something that you can take advantage of to keep your inbox clean. One of the challenges that so many integrators and service providers deal with is they need to be looking at all these alerts, but they also would like to go home at the end of the day. What you can do with this digest is you can set time constraints that you are getting active alerts sent to your email or through push notifications to your account. What you can do is say, okay, after, in this case, I said after 8:30 or 9:30 p.m., a.m., whatever you want to set, I want to only have the alerts consolidated into a single file. And then at the end of this time frame, I want to be able to have all those alerts sent to me in a single digest. And it goes across all of the agents that you're looking at. So if you have multiple alerts on multiple accounts, you get this nice consolidated email list. And then you can set it up so that during work hours, you're getting the real-time alerts when you need them. I think this is a very powerful tool. When Seth and I speak to the capabilities of doing this, our customers are so excited to see this. I mean, Seth, you have affirmations of some of the people that love this one feature here, so I felt it was important to show it here in the webinar.
Absolutely, JB. You know, and this is a great example of how we've come out with features. You know, alerting has been core to Domotz, and this was simply an improvement, a step up above and beyond what we were already doing, and a great response to dealer input or user input and customer input from those who are taking advantage of the fact that we're very responsive when we get good feedback.
Absolutely. Network security. This is a feature that is available in our premium plan, and I think people need to understand how to use this a little bit more. So network security to us, we have this internal nomenclature that we say, which is really perimeter monitoring or perimeter scanning. Essentially what we're doing is we're taking into account the fact that we are a cloud-based service. And that cloud service is always communicating back to that network agent that's on site. Well, by doing that, we have the ability to look and see at the front end of the router or the firewall, or think of it as the gateway that connects the WAN to your LAN. We have the ability to see that ports may be open from the WAN side. What we're doing is bringing awareness to you that there are open ports. As you can imagine, from a cybersecurity perspective, people are constantly having their WAN ports, their WAN IP addresses scanned, and they're looking for openings. Cyber or hackers are constantly looking for ports that are open. And if they find one, that's a hole or a vulnerability into your system. What Domotz does is it brings awareness to the types of ports that are there and what are being seen. You can pause this service if you don't want us looking at that, or if you know that everything's closed because you're using a professional firewall. But if you're not, you should definitely take advantage of this. And when we alert you to a port, that tells you that there's time to take action. You can either accept that that port is open because you know about it and it's secure, or you should go and close it and then mark that as deleted. And then if we see it again, we'll alert you again. That's from the outside perspective. But there's also this notion of ports getting automatically open from the inside. A commonly used technology, and it's an older technology, but it's UPnP, or Universal Plug and Play. This was developed as a way for devices to easily connect to the outside world. And in many routers and firewalls, you can either enable or disable UPnP. In this case, if we see that UPnP ports are open, we'll bring awareness to you about that. And then again, you can take action and close those as such. So this is a feature that I think is important for people to understand and take a look at and see if they need it. Some people understand their networks quite well because they're dealing with firewalls and its service, but this is just a secondary check for you if you want to use it that way. But speaking of security, and I have to say, Seth, I know you hear me preach this. I know, Giancarlo, you also talk about this quite a bit, but your account security is extremely important to us as well. Domotz has spent a lot of time and a lot of development efforts making sure that our cloud is secure. We're making sure that we're using some of the highest encryption possible. We take advantage of Amazon Web Services features, but it's only as good as your network, and your networks that you're monitoring are only as good as the passwords and the way you protect your accounts. We highly recommend you take advantage of two-factor authentication in order to make sure that when people are accessing networks, your networks, it's the people that you know about and you expect. Every single one of your team members can have two-factor authentication put on their account, and we highly recommend you take advantage of this. As I say here, just use it. It's important. Speaking of connectivity into systems, VPN OnDemand is a brand new feature that we brought out a couple of months ago. I think some of you have probably seen some of the different Domotz emails that we've done that show you about this and talk about this. But this is one of the things that I think our customers, as they start to use it and understand it more and more, get really excited about. As you guys know, we already have direct secure connectivity to individual devices on the network. But essentially what VPN OnDemand does for you is it takes your laptop that you're using and puts it directly onto that network as a whole. But it does it through the Domotz cloud and the Domotz agent that's sitting on that network. You have the ability to access all the devices on that network at one time. We've taken advantage of technologies like OpenVPN so that it's easy for you to configure your VPN client and put your PC directly on that network very easily. One of the things we do, just like our other tunneling technologies, and this is primarily for security reasons, we automatically close the system after an hour as well, so that your network does not remain exposed and vulnerable. So this is the technology that we use. We see a lot of our integrators leveraging their programming tools to gain access to multiple devices that are on the network. This is very common for automation systems like Crestron, Extron, AMX, or Savant, Control4, and others can utilize this to gain access to all the devices and do firmware updates in a very efficient manner. So keep this in mind as you're looking at some of our technologies that we have here. So as we start to look at some of those broader features that Domotz has available, we can also start to look at some of the more device-specific features that we have. One of the things that we released a while back was this notion of wireless access points and getting more insight into what's on these access points at any one specific time. We have several integration partners where we've now created these advanced features. Some of the first ones we did were with Ruckus. This works also well with the Access Networks APs. We are working with Meraki and Ubiquiti as well, and we're working with other partners that we know we'll see coming soon, that we've been partners with for a while. Some of the features that you get with this more advanced wireless access point monitoring, definitely along the lines of channel awareness. You know, what are the channels that are out there? What are the noise floors of these channels? How have they changed over time? This is something that you can use to help better understand network performance. You can see all the devices that are connected to the particular channels and the SSIDs that they're associated to. But then it goes further by showing things like signal strength indication. So what is the RSSI value of these individual devices as seen by the wireless access point itself? And then, of course, with some of our advanced technology, like we talked about before on the topology mapping, we have the ability to understand when these devices change from one WAP to another, and that shows up in the topology map and the device list as well. So this is something that we're really excited about. I think a lot of people that have started utilizing this really helps them get insight as to where devices are on the network and what they're doing, how long they've been connected, and if they need to take action on anything. You probably saw on that, there was this little chart that showed latency measurements. This fundamentally is our device response time monitoring that we do. The beauty of this is that each Domotz agent that's on the network, or the Domotz agent that's on the network, can ping each device on the network and look and record the latency that is seen by that device. Latency in general is not a bad thing. What happens to systems, especially things like voice over IP or unified communication systems that are dealing with audio, there can be sensitivities to latency. And if you have a common latency or a flat latency, that may be okay, even if it's large, because the system can adjust. But when the latency starts to vary greatly over time, that's when you can run into, let's call it buffer problems on your audio system or even in a video-based system. What Domotz can do is set alerts for when your latency varies by a significant amount, or if you're getting a high amount of packet loss in the system, we can alert you to that. Very helpful when it comes to audio environments and video environments for our integrators and service providers. We see this getting used a lot with service providers that are dealing with voice over IP and phone systems that are sitting on separate networks. We talked a little bit about this, of course, when we talk about VPN OnDemand. The beauty of VPN OnDemand is that it puts your laptop directly on that network through the Domotz agent. But there are times when you don't need to have all that visibility. What you need to do is go in and configure a single device. The management aspect of Domotz is a tool, or an RMM tool, right? That second M, this is a very powerful feature for that. The secure tunneling that we put onto each device gives you the ability, as you see here in this Luxel switch, the ability to log into that page directly, make any modifications that you need to do, and then close that connection pretty quickly. One thing that people may not be aware of, and I definitely want to bring this to people's attention, sometimes devices, in order to use the tools that may be necessary for those devices, need to have multiple ports open. You can actually do that through Domotz. You can create secure or multiple simultaneous port connections to devices, so be aware of that. Seth, you and I have a lot of conversations about this, right?
Love it.
Yeah, we have service providers that are taking advantage of this one feature here, which is very specific to security cameras or on-based cameras. But you have the ability to, through Domotz, to not only see that the camera is online, but you're actually validating that it's functioning properly by capturing a snapshot or even grabbing the video stream that's being generated live. Many service providers have started adding value to the services that they offer through this one feature here on Domotz. And in fact, we'll talk about a couple of use cases at the end where we see people grabbing fairly large sums of money from their clients by being able to validate that cameras are functioning properly. We'll talk more about that. Seth, any other comments you want to make on this particular slide?
You know, this is just a great way to underscore the common theme throughout all that Domotz is based on, which is security. From the way that our application performs to the leveraging of access to devices, to the tunneling, everything is built around security. And we'll talk a little bit more about some resources that we're happy to make available, but that is at the absolute forefront of everything we do, and this is just one example.
Yeah. By the way, while you were talking there, I was looking over at Giancarlo, and I see him frantically typing away, which is great. It means he's getting some questions and he's probably providing some answers. But I think it's a good point to say, hey, if you guys have questions on some of the different features and slides, by all means, enter it into the questions area, and or the chat area is appropriate for you, and we will get responses to those either at the end of the presentation, or we'll email responses out to you as we consolidate those things. This feature is something that, again, just like the on-div camera support, I think helps differentiate us from other solutions that are out there. Basically, Domotz has the ability to work with manufacturing partners and show what I'm classifying as system topology, but here we're more specifically talking about video system integration and some of our integration partners. We worked with companies like Liberty AV, Wirestorm, Crestron to be able to take their video systems. And if you're familiar with how video systems work, especially those that do encoding and decoding over the network, we have the ability to tie their encoders to their decoders over the network and see which sources are communicating with which syncs, or which encoders are communicating with which decoders and displays. This is a great way for, and Seth, you pointed this out when you showed franchises that are dealing with digital signage and gymnasiums that are dealing with touch screens or screens that are throughout the house. Sports bars obviously have lots of televisions. But when that manager of that retail shop calls in and says, hey, this TV is not working, leveraging Domotz as a tool to understand, first of all, are all these devices are online, but then are they communicating with each other the way they should? It's a very powerful tool to help improve your service, reduce truck rolls, and take advantage of the fact that we are showing you a lot of details. So I think this to me is a pretty exciting feature, and we're just continuing to build on this.
It really, JB, it's a great example of the way that we are working with our partners. And we get really close to the partners we work with. We get friendly with folks like Dory at Liberty and Rob at Onkyo and Tegra, Doug and Twan at Crestron, Paul at Sound United. We work very closely to help define what is the biggest need and what will serve their target audiences with the greatest utilities. And we have the horsepower to be able to develop incredibly useful tools like this one here.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, if you're a manufacturer that's listening to this and you want to work with us and developing some of this unique ecosystem play that we take here, please contact us. Reach out to sales@domotz.com, or you can reach out to support@domotz.com, and we'd be happy to have a conversation. So, and in fact, if there are integrators and service providers that are listening that have any thoughts on what we can do or who we should be working with, we welcome that input. So, one of the things that I don't really think people are aware of, although they, some do get it, some of the larger organizations, but I wanted to bring this to everybody's attention. I'm using the term access management, but fundamentally what it is about how can you as an organization, whether you're a company of one or you're a company of tens if not hundreds, manage the tools that you're using here. Domotz, the way it's set up is you come in and you create an account, you become an admin, you're a super admin of that account. You can actually add team members or think of them as other admins that have visibility into all of the Domotz agents or Domotz enabled networks that you deploy. You can also create what we call field operators. You can think of them as technicians, or it could just be other folks within your organization that should only have visibility to certain networks. Domotz has a hierarchy that allows you to set your organization up to meet your needs. And each one of these individuals, whether they're a team member or a field operator, have unique logins. They have the ability to do two-factor authentication, which, as I said before, is extremely important and I want you to leverage. But what's the beauty of this is that by having these unique individual logins, you also get reporting on who's accessing your client's networks and what they're accessing within those networks. This is a great way for a couple things. One is it helps make sure that you guys are that the people that are logging into the system are who you expect and that they're doing the jobs the way they should be. The other thing that it does with respect to reporting and logging is it helps you show your clients that you guys are accessing their systems, justifying the service that you're providing to them, or what maybe if you're charging them for the service, or if you have some sort of SLA or service level agreement in place with them, that you're actually they're working and you're having the team members do what is needed. This is something that's very important, and I think you guys should consider this and take advantage of this. The other thing that you see under the Access Management tab inside the Domotz dashboard is the ability to collaborate with other partners. In some sense, you guys may, you may be an expert in installing the networks, but you have a partner or another company in your area that works on programming of systems, or they will do the automation environment or possibly the access control systems from a security perspective. You have the ability to share your individual networks to those partners that are outside of your company and giving them access. They can have access for as long as you need them to have access, and then you can revoke that access when you're done or whenever they've finished their job. This is something that people should be aware of and try to take advantage of because it's a great feature. And the other thing that I want to point out on this with respect to access management, Domotz works with a couple of key support or key manufacturing partners that we have given them the ability to have their support team gain access to the network based on your needs. One of a few of the companies that I can think of, Luxol, Wirestorm, Onkyo, and Integra, what they have the ability to do is if you're having trouble with some of their systems, you can share that network with them. And that's something that we think is pretty exciting. We're continuing to build out that manufacturer support ecosystem there. So it gets used quite a bit by our clients when they need help with some of these partner devices. So speaking of that support architecture, so we talk about how you can have this team master and team members and field operators. What I think very few people are aware of is that Domotz actually has an advanced support hierarchy, as we call it, or a managed service provider plan that can extend the support further. This can be utilized in the case of managed service providers that are providing networking or advanced support to franchises or franchisees that own multiple restaurants, and they want to have their IT department have visibility into the networks or the systems that they deploy. This is something that we've had for a couple of years now, but we haven't broadly advertised it. But I do want to make sure you guys have awareness that it is possible to increase this. If you're a larger company that's maybe across the US or even global, and you want to put, you want to segment your company into areas, whether it's the north, east, south regions of the United States, or if it's, the west side of the city and the east side of the city, however you want to do it, we have a structure that can help you do this. By all means, contact sales@domotz.com for more information about this if you want to gain visibility into this and see what we're doing here. This is something that I know Giancarlo and I have been super excited about, and the dev team has been working on for a while now. It's essentially a desktop application. The reason that we think this brings value, and I encourage all of you to try this out with your systems that you have today, is the fact that it loads faster. It provides you with automatic updates to the system. It's available on both Windows and Mac OS. So please try it. It's actually quite impressive. One of the beautiful things about this, though, is that if you're dealing with our premium agents, you have the ability now to export the device list that is seen by the Domotz agent. And what's beautiful about this is it comes in this Excel format that you can easily filter out devices, but then you can modify things in batch. So you can go and set all the devices that you care about to be important, or you can remove the important ones and make them unimportant. You can go in and modify the room locations, the zones. If you want to go in and change the names quickly, you can do all that in a nice, easy to use Excel file format. But then what's so powerful with it is that you can immediately import it back and get all of those updates in real time to the system. This is a great way, and it's been requested for a while, but the team just released this last week. So we're super excited to have you guys try this, use it, give us feedback on this. Seth, you and I go and talk to customers all the time, and this has been a requested feature. Have you, anything you want to mention about this?
This is a great example, again, of one of the features that I can recall very specifically visiting my friends at Maverick, who were asking for this some time back, and here it is. So, we definitely thrive on active engagement, and definitely
Yes.
want to encourage that you go down this path. We expect you to be an active, involved, and feedback-giving user.
Yeah, and our team takes that feedback and leverages it. So this is something that I wanted to bring up as well. And this is a much more advanced feature, but for a lot of service providers who look at the Domotz dashboard and say, hey, this is great, but I already have a dashboard that I use, or I've developed one that I want to provide to my customers, or I do custom reporting already through some of the different tools I have. How can I integrate the features of Domotz into those dashboards I already have? Take advantage of our public APIs. The thing that I commonly say is everything that you see in the Domotz app, or whether it's the web app or the mobile app, it's based on these public APIs that are available. You can find this under portal.domotz.com. Essentially everything that you need to create your own custom dashboard is right there. And I mentioned it earlier, but I'll iterate this again. This is also a great way to integrate the Domotz capabilities to other tools that you're using, whether they're PSA tools or whether there are other RMM tools that you use for managing PCs or doing patch management on PCs and Macs or laptops. This is a great way to enrich the data that you're using on those tools through Domotz. Essentially, when we leverage our FING database and the SDK to enrich all the information about the devices, you guys can now take advantage of all that enriched data through these APIs. One thing that several service providers use these APIs for as well is scripting and doing some automatic process checking. So they can utilize tools, even if you use simple tools like if this then that, or you use more advanced things like Zapier to better integrate with other third-party apps. These APIs give you a lot of power, and you can automate things through these APIs. You can develop drivers for the automation systems. So if you want your customer to be able to power cycle devices based on a button press, you can do those types of things through these APIs. So I wanted to bring awareness to this, this capability. You can find it under your account in portal.domotz.com if you want more information about that. As always, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to our support team and we can help address those. So Seth, I think I've shown a lot of the new features. There's of course a lot more. I know we're gonna have more webinars where we dive into specific details, but I think at this point it's worthwhile to talk about some of the specific use cases that we see going on.
Absolutely.
And go ahead if you want to mention this one.
Yes, I'd love to. This is one of my favorites. And really this speaks to the fact that it's a convergence of markets based on a convergence of technologies. And we have the ability now to see so much of what's there that even if it's a matter of monitoring devices and the performance of equipment that may be outside of what you've done in the past, those are opportunities. Not only is it a great way to diagnose the true cause of the problem, if you're certain that it is a result of something that you installed and you're not necessarily thinking that you need to be monitoring it, but by virtue of the fact that it is visible, means that it's something that leads to your ability to resolve the issue. In this case, we've got houses. We've got a managed service provider who is servicing specifically the cannabis industry, which is incredibly regulated in the California space. Every square inch of a facility must be monitored via cameras at all times, 24/7, from seed to smoke or whatever it is that from one end to the other. If at any point there's a disruption in the ability to cover every square inch, that's a liability for the integrator. It's a liability, sorry, for the owner of that facility, and it's an insurance policy that now the integration company or the managed service provider is able to lean in and offer. So there are always going to be these new business opportunities. As a service has certainly taken off as a very commonly heard term, but it's really no joke. I mean, you just have to figure out how to make sure that you are providing a service that somebody else can't live without, and certainly monitoring the health and the security of facilities like these is no different.
And Seth, I would add to this. I mean, whether you're dealing with agricultural greenhouses or you're monitoring, how orchids are being made, you bring up a really good point, which is all of these systems that are utilized to make sure that it's watering correctly, that the temperature is correct. It's all becoming network connected. And if any one of those systems go down, millions of dollars are at stake, whether it's the security system, the access control systems, the watering, the plants. This gets utilized in golf courses. It gets utilized in farms, right, that have broad reach. And we have the ability to help monitor all of those different types of systems.
That's right. On college campuses, we've got, I know I've heard multiple times from integrators and service providers who've talked about instructors walking away with their broadcast equipment, with the microphones, and being able to detect that something has gone offline and when helps to track down that equipment. So it's more than just making sure that stuff is working on the morning of the big course or lecture or presentation, or every morning at the franchise, whether it's a workout facility or it's a restaurant chain. Being able to rely on the experts remotely rather than the person who happens to be in the room who probably isn't necessarily going to be a technical expert. You've got a shift manager, you've got a professor. They're not going to want to be troubleshooting, and you don't want to wait until the moment that equipment is needed to find out that there's an issue. Boardrooms are another example. Unified communications. We've got the Global Presence Alliance has standardized on Domotz for being able to supply a uniform experience regardless of where that facility is on the planet. What does the customer want? The customer wants uptime. They don't need to hear about the technological jargon and monitoring of systems and networks and devices. They just want to know that this stuff is going to work. They have a hard enough time keeping track of who's got the password, let alone, is this thing going to turn on when I tap the display the way that they showed us in the demo, right? And
Seth, one of the favorite use cases that I heard is from I'm here in Salt Lake, and it's from a local service provider for voice over IP system. And I think this applies both to education as well as businesses, but he monitors the voice over IP phones for his client. One of them is a school district here. And inevitably, teachers are always changing classrooms or having to move or pack up and go from one area to another. Well, what do? They pack up their desk, they pack up their phone, they take it with them, and they go. Well, he utilizes Domotz to understand that phone went offline when that teacher unplugged it. He then leverages the fact that we look across multiple VLANs and subnets to see that teacher, when they got to their new desk, actually plugged it into the wrong port, and it wasn't on the managed VLAN for the voice over IP system. What he has the ability to do is immediately, it brings awareness that this event occurred, but then he can log into the managed switch and just swap the VLANs so that the teacher doesn't have to do anything with respect to the port. And he does it in a very proactive way. He does it before he gets a phone call from the school district saying, hey, this person's phone doesn't seem to be working, can you fix it? He has it done, and all he does is send a report to the school district saying, hey, this happened, I took action, thank you for your service, or thank you for paying me for this service. It's an amazing use case, and it's all being done because of Domotz.
And proactive means taking action before you have to receive a phone call, which is never at the best time, right? It's inconvenient for everyone. And, like we said, the most important thing is uptime. It's performance. And sending a truck out to begin to troubleshoot a problem and arriving blind to what the true cause may be is not just lost opportunity and potential waste of resources and sending of the wrong person with the wrong equipment, so therefore more than one trip in many cases, but it's credibility with the customer, and it is a proven fact that for every truck roll, the overall value of an organization is actually diminished. When calculating the sale value, the true worth of an organization, the number of times that site visits have to be made are points against your organization and the value of it. You put all of this time and energy into building up a clientele, and you may be undermining it simply because you're not leveraging a tool that allows you to resolve problems without having to send somebody. Doesn't undervalue your expertise, which is really at the root of leveraging a tool like Domotz. It's that expertise that is where the real value is, not in the fact that you sent somebody out and there's a billable visit. Your ability to charge a fee, whether it's on a monthly basis, annual basis, or on a per incident basis, that's totally up to you. The reality is that solving the problem in the most efficient way possible is really the goal.
Yeah, and Seth, we're going to have another webinar, I think, on that, because we get a lot of questions around, how can I improve my business? I mean, we talk a lot about operational efficiency, which is around that truck roll notion. But as far as I'm concerned, this is a way better truck roll here.
Way better, and it happens to be lunchtime in the Atlanta market where I am, and I'm starting to get a little hungry. We do have, we're near the end. This is really the bottom line, though, and it's being the hero, right? We want to be the one that our end customer thinks about in all the positive ways. People understand that equipment is going to fail. It's everywhere around us that hardware and other systems degrade over time naturally. If a car is never driven, the oil will settle and the tires go bad. So everybody knows that systems, pools and pianos and lawn care, everything needs maintenance. Every phone, I just did an update on my phone the other day. So it's not something that we need to shy away from. We should talk about it early and often because it demonstrates that you're thinking ahead on behalf of the customer, saying, this is the type of system I install, these are the kinds of things that will happen predictably, and this is how we resolve them, and we'll tell you about it after we've fixed it in a periodic report. It's all about being the hero, the go-to expert.
That's right, and I hope everybody recognizes the fact that this is a picture of Seth.
Oh,
so
when he had hair.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that looks like my wedding picture right there. So listen, we've got tons of resources. This, as we said earlier, is going to be made available within 24 hours to all those who registered. There's just a ton of resources from all of the equipment that we've already developed drivers for listed. We've got security white papers that talk about why remote monitoring or cloud solutions are actually more secure than on-premise solutions. We've got a ton of resources that we're more than happy to send out or point you to in terms of links. Here's down below, you see sales at and support at. Those certainly should be used. My email address is Seth at Domotz.com. JB is JB at, the two letters together. But we've got a demo you can try. We've got a 21-day free trial at the premium level. In fact, we're even going to send out to all the attendees a voucher code, whether you've had experience using Domotz yet or not, for 2 months of the premium service. We want you to have a sense of how this tool, which, by the way, is ridiculously cheap by every industry's standards, how it can be leveraged in so many creative ways that shift and improve with the changing landscape. If you want to niche down in a particular area, you want to become a service provider and spend less time installing, there's so many ways that Domotz can be leveraged. We've already got one question that has come in from John that I'm going to read out. Once the VPN connection is established, is it still being relayed through your cloud, or does it establish a direct connection to the agent?
Hey, Giancarlo, do you mind taking a stab at that?
Oh, yes, thanks, JB. Thanks, Seth, for the question. Yes, the short answer is yes. The VPN OnDemand provided by Domotz is still relying on our cloud infrastructure. So you will have an endpoint for the VPN client, which is our cloud. And there is a specific reason there, because in this way, you don't need to open any port on the WAN infrastructure of your customers, which I believe is a very good point from a security point of view.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right, Giancarlo. I mean, the fact that we take advantage of the cloud infrastructure and the security we built in is what makes that tool within Domotz so valuable. And you use the Domotz login infrastructure and the two-factor authentication to make sure that that person that's creating that VPN connection is indeed a the client, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree with you, JB. And to tell you more, on top of that, this endpoint that we create on the cloud is restricted from the for the access only to the client that established the VPN on demand.
Yeah, good.
Only to my specific IP address.
Good.
Listen, I'm
go ahead.
conscious
Go ahead,
of the
Seth.
fact that we're coming up on the top of the hour. I do want to just take a moment to cover the fact that we've touched on network topology, alerts, security, the VPN on demand, as Giancarlo was just talking about, addressing latencies. There's so many ways that the tool can be used. I want to put a question to JB and Giancarlo. From your perspective, Giancarlo, what's the Domotz difference? Now, I get this question on a regular basis, and from your point of view as our CTO, how would you say that Domotz fits into the world of technology landscape today?
I would say that one of the key differentiation with some of our competitors is definitely the power of our engineering team, which makes our products very fast to be developed with new feature added really every 2 weeks in a very secure way from a reliability point of view. We have put in place a very reliable automatic test plan, which makes our platform quite robust there. So whenever we add a new feature, we are sure that we are not breaking old or existing feature because we have this test plan in place.
Yeah, I agree with that, Giancarlo. I mean, the team is amazing what they've been able to develop, and it's impressive how the new features come out and they just work. It's great. Seth, from my perspective on the business side for integrators, I think one of the key differentiators that we have is we're really providing a tool that helps these service providers lower their operational costs, which helps them be more efficient in how they run their business. And then the second aspect, and it came through on that image of you being a hero, it really helps you surprise and delight your customers. If you know about a problem on the network and you have the ability to solve it before the customer was even aware of it, that's an amazing gift that you're giving your customer. I mean, ultimately, I hope they're paying you for that, but if we can help you lower your costs while increasing your revenues through these service agreements, I think that's something that Domotz as a tool allows you to do in an extremely efficient and powerful way.
Absolutely, I agree. From my standpoint and partner engagement, it's really our agnosticism, the fact that we're neutral across multiple channels and multiple brands. We're not here to replace the secure interfaces that manufacturers may be supplying to their own equipment. We want to be partners with other software companies, other hardware companies. We believe that we fit right in alongside them as a value add on many different levels. And there was a question from Peter asking about other sessions available. We'll absolutely be having more sessions, and we'll let you know about that. We want you to be on our mailing list so we can give you alerts, but feel free to send any questions that you've had or topics that you'd like to see us cover to sales or support or Seth . And Victor says, does Domotz have plans to integrate with ConnectWise or other PSA platforms? Absolutely, we'd love to do so. We're constantly reaching out, attempting to engage with the right counterparts in organizations such as theirs. We don't want to compete, we want to complement. So thank you for that question. And Steve says, will Sophos router and Wi-Fi access points be supported? Undoubtedly. I mean, we have a list of those brands broken out by vendor and type so that you can see who we've already done drivers for. But if you've got specific interests in a particular brand, by all means, submit a request. And better yet, if you've got a contact in an organization that you'd like to introduce us to, that's exactly what we're here for. So please feel free to do that. Any other questions that we haven't been able to get to, we'll address in email.
Very good. Thank you very much for attending. We appreciate your time. We know it's valuable. And as we stated before, please try Domotz at domotz.com. If you have any questions, reach out to sales@domotz.com or support@domotz.com. Thank you very much.
Remember, we'll be sending out those vouchers, so we look forward to seeing you guys sign up and try it out. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.